Our sponsors: the Finkley Experience, an educational consulting firm that specializes in first-generation education, and which prepares high school students for college. For more information, visit their website at thefinkleyexperience.com. Father to Father Incorporated, a nonprofit organization that strengthens families through father engagement, with a goal to help men in our communities to be great dads. For more information, visit their website, fathertofatherinc.org. ABLAZE Entertainment. The goal of ABLAZE is to take emerging artists and develop them to the next level of their career. For more information, visit their website at ablazeentertainment.net. Thank you.
My name is Valentine, and you may know me from 90 Day Fiancé Love in Paradise. Hey, you guys, and I am here with Michael Finkley, and we are having the greatest conversation, so stay tuned. Peace.
Next, Finkley. Activist and advocate Zane Landin is with us on the next Michael Finkley.
It's my biggest dream come true. It's my biggest dream come true.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Michael Finkley Show. Thanks for joining us today. Now, y'all, I had this cool interview a few days ago, and I was on this platform. Shout out to Tammy, the Tammy Show, a really awesome friend. She was on our show last season, and I was on her show a previous season, and the new episode is out as well. And some of the questions that she was asking me really stuck with me. And one of the questions that led to me saying about my voice, right? I really didn't know that I had a voice. When I was growing up, you were raised in a household where it says, what happens in this house stays in this house, no talking back, right? All this kind of good stuff like that. And if you will allow it, it can carry into your childhood, meaning to your adulthood from your childhood. And that's what happened to me, meaning raised in a strict household like this, I felt that I didn't have a voice. When I got to college, I found a piece of my voice, right? Realizing I have one. But this show has allowed me to really put my voice out there and say what I need to say and encourage and inspire and educate everyone that watches, including myself as I'm doing this. And it really put me in an emotional state when I was telling this story on our show. I didn't realize that until now. I found my voice. You have allowed me to find my voice. I found my voice through this amazing platform, which is fantastic. You allow me to come in each and every time I upload a video or put it on a podcast platform or some type of network. And we just have a conversation, right? Every interview that I have, I learn something from. And it's just amazing to have that epiphany. Like, I found my voice. I'm still finding my voice because it's a process. So thank you, viewers. Thank you, Think Fam, for allowing me to find my voice. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And then I get to interview amazing guests like the one that we have today. Zane Landin is with us, and he talks about his advocacy work and what he is passionate about in this day and time within his life as a whole, and how he motivates and inspires others, including himself. So another amazing interview. Don't go away. Back in a moment. Next, we have Zane with us. Don't go away.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Titus Showers, and you are tuned in to the one and only Michael Finkley Show. Make sure you guys keep it locked, and make sure you support my brother. God bless you.
It's got my name. Come on, everybody, right where you
are. On the next Michael Finkley, celebrating breast cancer awareness. Tamika Hunter Ross is with us to discuss her journey with breast cancer and also her signature event, Pink in the City. Next Finkley. Hello everybody, it's Finkley from the Finkley Experience. We're an educational consulting firm that specializes in first-generation education. So we assist students with their college and career endeavors. We train school administrators on the state of first-generation students. And also, we partner with colleges and universities to assist their first-generation population for easy transition from high school to college. So if you're looking for a presenter or speaker that presents on these topics and so much more, visit our website at thefinkleyexperience.com and learn about all that we do. We're looking forward to working with you. everybody. Welcome back to the Michael Finkley Show. Now, y'all, my next guest, he is a recent college graduate. He's an advocate. He is also an entrepreneur, and we're going to touch each of these bases in our conversation. I promise you. He is Zane Landin. Zane, thanks for being with us today.
I'm humbled to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. When you reached out to my team and they passed through your information to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's talk, right? Let's have a conversation. So thank you so much for finding us. So Zane, when you think about the word advocate, right? What are some thoughts or phrases that come to your mind?
Someone that doesn't accept the status quo. Someone who's always pushing the barriers for other people, especially if they're in positions, not necessarily power, but positions where they can do so. Because there are definitely a lot of people that are in places where they can't advocate for themselves. And there are people that actually need to even survive. And so when you have advocates who are also allies, I think that that's where a lot of change can happen, especially when you can tap into people who have maybe in these positions where they have a lot of influence. So that's why I always think advocates and allies are so powerful, especially allies, because you can do a lot of advocacy work in your space, but once you can convince people outside of the community and they can convince their network, and it's just becoming more of a huge network of the work that you're doing, I think that's where you're going to have the most reach. That's what I think.
I love that definition. You know, you hear so many different things, and that's kind of just straight to the point, right? Delving straight to the point. There's so many different things that people fight for. But in reading about you, you fight for several causes, including mental health, disability, queer rights. Why this realm?
Because that's how I identify. I think that's the main reason. But I'll start from the beginning. You know, from a very young age, I experienced mental health conditions, and then recently I've had this revelation where I learned I had a disability growing up, but it wasn't communicated to me. It wasn't really known that I had a disability. And then going into more disability work, I think people would be very surprised on how many people with disabilities there are, and how many that are probably in your circle that you might not know, because a lot of disabilities are non-apparent, which means you can't see them. Like mine, you wouldn't be able to see that I have a disability because it's, you know, mental or it's cognitive. So I think that there are people that, you know, conceal their disability identity, and for the people who can't, I see the way that they've been treated and the way that they have been looked at and how they've been systematically disenfranchised. And it's heartaching, especially since I belong to this community and I'm at a place where some people may not know and treat me that way. So I'm always trying to that's why I'm always proudly saying I have a disability. And if people are going to treat me differently, then that's okay, as long as they still treat me as a human at the end of the day. But I've never known anyone in my experience that has been really negative. If I've ever said that, they might pity me, but that's my experience. I know that there are people with disabilities who have been horribly treated, and, you know, even worse than I can even imagine, which is why, you know, I'm a huge advocate. Even my family, a lot of my family, you know, and my entire family have disabilities. If it's like diabetes or having cancer, those are disabilities that we may not think about because they're not like widely known. We always think of disability as the traditional, like someone who's using a wheelchair, someone who's using crutches. It's so much more than that. It's so much beyond that at this point. And so that's why I do that work. And also I identify as queer, as well as having mental health. And I also identify as Hispanic. So I mostly advocate for like mental health and, you know, disability, but I'm always making sure that we're including queer folks and people of color, because a lot of the times disability is not a monolith and it is a huge behemoth of a community. But I think sometimes the narrative gets bogged down to just a one-dimensional narrative. Right. Instead, we want to see the intersectionality of what is it like to be a person of color and have a disability. And for some people who are a person of color having a disability, maybe they didn't grow up in an area that was dangerous or an area that they had to struggle, like financially. So all the intersections are always so important, and each dimension is different. And that's why I try and bring my intersectionality to the table. And I may not understand what everyone else is going through, but that's the point. I'm trying to be empathetic and listen and still be a voice for those maybe who don't think their voice counts when it does, though.
Yeah, I love that. I definitely love that, because sometimes, at times, we're so afraid, and this is part of my testimony as well, we're so afraid to kind of step up and speak up and support various things, right? But I'm so glad that you found your voice to be an advocate for these different things that you support. When did you find your voice?
I think growing up, I never really knew what my voice was. And I think because I held on to so many intersectional identities, I never knew where I fit, which I think is pretty interesting because I've always had to kind of figure out each identity at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first one was mental health. That was the first clear thing that was happening in my life. So I saw a therapist for a long time. I haven't recently, but the last time I saw one was probably, I saw some in like university, but I had a committed psychologist I saw until like my senior year of high school. So mental health was always something that I was proactively working on. And, luckily my family was an advocate for me. That's the thing too. Finding my voice. Luckily I had supporters help me find my voice too. And so, my mom was a huge supporter of me, and she always made sure that I got the resources I need. So if I ever talk to parents, I tell them, fight for your kids. And it's unfortunate the system might seem like it's against you, but you have to fight for your kids, because if that doesn't happen, then I wouldn't be where I am right now. So that's one thing. And so it's always interesting when you have a lot of these differing identities and how they intersect. But I've always had to figure them out, because then when I was in middle school, that's when I kind of realized I was queer. And then, like I said, recently I discovered I had a disability, which I had for the longest time, but I didn't know. And so, finding my voice, I would say what helped me the most is just joining an organization. So like what I did in high school is I joined Best Buddies, and that was the first kind of glimpse of disability advocacy that I saw. And I, traveled on to university, and then for the first 2 years, I really wasn't doing advocacy work. I was involved in other things like student government, which is advocacy, but it wasn't like social identity advocacy, which is what I do now. And I think another organization I joined was the Access and Disability Alliance, which when I was in student government, I was connected to someone who inspired me to join. Then after that, it just took off. I think I just found my voice in disability and that specific community, because also it was so inclusive and so welcoming. What's unfortunate about where I went and some of the spaces I've been in, LGBTQ, even Hispanic spaces, have not always been inclusive, because I don't look the part. And that this is my perspective. Like sometimes I'll go in Hispanic spaces and I'm light skinned and I don't speak Spanish. I think there are some barriers there to that. I think that there are people that are gonna go, I'm not, a lot of people are gonna think you're not fully Hispanic, you don't know the culture of being Hispanic. I don't know what that means. So I don't know. I think Hispanic can be anything. Not anything, but like your Hispanic identity is yours. You know what I mean? And so, and even the people that I was talking to, they may not be from, South America. And so I don't know if they know what the authentic culture is too. So it's interesting that some of the stuff they were talking about and saying that I felt not part of the culture just because I looked a certain way or I didn't speak the language. And it's actually it's troublesome, because I want to embrace that. That's why I went there in the first place, was to see if I can connect with other Hispanic students so I can like learn more about like my roots and like what it means to be Hispanic, more so than I've learned. And I just didn't get the feedback I was looking for, and that's the unfortunate thing. And so I stuck with disability because it was so inclusive. And that's the thing too, like I didn't really know anything about it. I knew very little about disability, but because it was so welcoming and had such a good environment, I wanted to stay. And so I stayed because of the community and the culture. I think that's important, especially when you're trying to bring in allies or people who are like just curious. Like engage them and learn about their story and consider their history and who they are and what they bring to the table, because that's exactly why I stayed. And that's exactly how I think you engage allies. And I started off as an ally, learned I had a disability, and then I became an advocate, because they're all very different things.
Exactly. Definitely. I love the way you brought up the aspect of support, and then how you started joining organizations. And also too, I promise you, in doing that, you learned a lot about others that may identify as you have. And did those interactions change or strengthen your advocacy for these different avenues?
That was strengthened for sure, because I realized that in like the inner workings of these communities, there's still discrimination and there's still stereotyping. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's crazy,
I think people forget that. I think people forget that. Yeah, I think it's something that we forget, that these communities have their own issues and their own problems that they have to figure out. That's not something we hear about a lot. It's usually, I hear a lot about the communities against each other, and there's always the wars happening, like the pseudo wars. that I see. But I think it's so much more beyond that. You'll see like the Hispanic community that are very like sexist, or though sometimes they'll be ableist, or even anti-LGBTQ, and that is important because again, it's all about the intersectionality. And as someone who's Hispanic and queer, I've definitely been embraced by my family, but I know families that are Hispanic that would not embrace that. And I think that that is really hard for people to have to come to terms with that when your family doesn't accept you. So yeah, I think that's something I learned. It strengthens it because I know that there's a lot more work that needs to be done, not just from the outer circle, like again, communities against each other that we've seen, but like the inner communities that still hold these stereotypes. Or even when I hear that, communities of color, they don't want you to date outside your race. Stuff like that, I think is really interesting. Because it's still like perpetuating this idea that we have to marry certain people, we have to be with certain people, and not embrace all cultures and all genders and races and ethnicities. You know what I mean?
I gotcha. That means we still have some work to do.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot more work to do. Definitely. I love your energy. I love your energy because you fight for equal. You fight for things you believe in, and also you're spreading positivity, right? Within many things that you do. So thank you for your work. Please don't change unless you change for the better.
What's up, everyone? It's Jaleel Thurman here, your boy from HBCU 101 Yard Talk 101 in the building. And I just want to let you know you're watching the Michael Finkley Show. Aha! Don't go nowhere.
Welcome to Father to Father.
The mission of Father to Father Charleston, South Carolina is to help fathers in the Low Country area of South Carolina to be a positive and consistent presence in their children's lives. Father to Father provides community-based programs and support groups for fathers free of charge. They also help fathers connect to other resources they need so they can meet their responsibilities and secure their parental rights. Father to Father offers job coaching and employment connections that benefit fathers. Father to Father is a resource for local organizations that want to provide family support and father-friendly services. If this program is a fit for you, visit our location in North Charleston, South Carolina, and meet our friendly staff here to help and assist. Or visit our website at fathertofatherinc.org. You just graduated. You're a recent graduate, right? College graduate, and you received your BS in communication and also public relations. How is this going to assist you in your overall goal and what you are perceiving to be in the future?
I'll say I started off university as a science, tech, and society major. A very different route that I decided to go into. Very different. And nothing against the major. I think it's a great major because it's like a science technology policy, which I think is incredibly needed as more technological advancements come into play. But I think that this was more suited for me because I always gravitated to storytelling. I never realized that though. Like reflecting on, because I had a mentor and she had a communications master's and bachelor's, and she told me all about communications, and I was just enthralled with it. I was like just so inspired by all of it, and I just had no idea that could be a career path. Especially since when we hear about communicators, we think, oh, writers make no money. We always hear stuff like that, but you have to be a writer in any capacity. Right. So I think that we need to go beyond, for one, even the major. I was talking to someone recently about a lot of students feel they're stuck with their major, but it really is the skills you bring and the skill set you have and what you're wanting to learn. Like if you're wanting to intern at a nonprofit, you want to do nonprofit development, I don't think your major is going to matter. I think it's going to matter on the work experience you have and your interest and your passion. So that's something that I learned. And I think that the major is going to help me a lot because I just learned so much throughout my university time with networking and being in leadership roles. And I really just want to be a professional communicator, whether that be doing communications for entertainment or diversity, equity, inclusion. I just finished an internship at General Motors last week on DEI communication. So I'm moving more into that realm where, communicating the work that's coming out of these companies doing DEI stuff, which I think is important because there actually are companies doing amazing work. They just may not be communicating they're doing it, and they need to,
Right.
so that consumers, people know they're doing the work. And I'm not saying, and there's always like the gray area. There's some people say, well, they're just posting and saying they're doing it for like the benefit or the clout. And I'm like, but people still have the right to know that they're doing this work. It's not performative activism to say you're doing it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. And another way that you're communicating the good news as well is through your magazine, Positive Vibes, right? Tell us about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I started in May of 2020. So it's over 2 years at this point. And I started because I wanted to see a mental health space that I wanted it to look like. You know, there was a lot of mental health spaces, especially when the pandemic was first kind of starting. But I wanted to see a certain community that, you know, resonated with me. And, you know, I didn't see what I was looking for, and I wanted to start my own. But aside from that, I was actually taking a class. I was taking copy editing, and we actually had a final project. And we had to create our own publication. We had to create the mission and what we would write about. So I decided to do Positive Vibes Magazine. And so I actually had my friend review the project, like, to see how it looked. And I was like, what if we started this? Like, why not? Like, why not? Like, what's going to stop us?
Right.
And she's like, yeah, it sounds interesting. I haven't seen anything like that. And again, that's her experience.
Mm-hmm.
And we just started off with a small Instagram account, doing some postings, and we like wrote 2 blog posts on a website. And then we had someone reach out to be interviewed, which I never thought would ever happen. And once that happened, it kind of changed the trajectory of almost everything with the magazine, because now all we kind of do is feature people. And I absolutely love it. And we call it Positive Vibes because it's about sharing authentic stories. And it doesn't, I know that there's the trend of, you know, positive vibes only, like positive vibes. We're not talking like always being positive. We're kind of like reclaiming the term positive vibes, that positive vibes, or the tool of positivity or transformational positivity, whatever it is that you want to say. It's all about using your past experiences or your trauma or whatever you've done, transforming it so you can do good in the world. Right. And you hear it from time and time again. You see some of the most successful people who have these horrific backstories that you can't even imagine some of them, what they've gone through. And you're like, wow, and they can still be a success. And it's so just inspiring to see someone turn that history into something beautiful, kind of like a cocoon and like a butterfly comes out. That's how I see it. And so, yeah, we've talked to some people who've had really interesting stories. There's celebrity stylists used to belong to a gang, and now they're just doing phenomenal work, you know, styling some of the most like famous celebrities. So stuff like that. And, you know, we talked to someone who has been, you know, sexually assaulted. And so, and these are honest conversations. It's also not about avoiding the past. We need to definitely highlight the negative. We're not going to have the positive without it. And so when we talk about positive vibes, it's not just about ignoring the negative, because you need to embrace the negative to reach that moment of positivity, right? And so for me, it's also the more you go through, and like the more resilient you become, the better person you become. And again, and I don't wish, you know, for anyone to go through stuff, but I think that that's something we all are going to have to do. Everyone's going to have to go through hardships or death or just awful stuff. And it really, how do I say this? I think it's really interesting, like who creates something out of that. Like, I think some people really thrive when they're down, which is interesting. Like a lot of people during the pandemic never thought they were entrepreneurs, and yet they start stuff, they start organizations. I think that, yeah, when I think people are at their lowest point, they're actually the most creative. And I think they don't even know how much they can do or how much potential they have. I think that's really interesting why that happens. Like I think there's this quote that says, like, when we're at our lowest point, more opportunity comes and like our real self shines through, which I think is really interesting. So I say it's unfortunate that people have to go through things, but the stuff that they can create is just kind of magnificent, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it makes total sense. I'm one of those people. I'm definitely one of those people. So it makes perfect sense to me. It's amazing. I love your energy. I love your energy because you fight for equal. You fight for things you believe in, and also you're spreading positivity, right? Within many things that you do. So thank you for your work. Please don't change unless you change for the better. Please, please. What is something in the future that you're excited about, that you're still looking forward to?
Oh, I'm looking forward to the uncertainty. I know it's like a weird answer, but I think
But I
that
love it. I
yeah.
love that answer. Oh.
Yeah, I know uncertainty is scary, and
Mhm.
but we have to remember the pandemic, though. The pandemic taught us that uncertainty doesn't mean it's the end. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that it's something that is always going to happen. I think we need to have more of a positive outlook on uncertainty, because I think as people, we kind of, there's always the half glass, half full. I think a lot of people definitely resonate with the bad because it's so impactful. You know, that's why I think negative news is so powerful and so influential. But one day I hope that there's a positive news network where they're sharing stories of more stories. Because I know I've done this before, but like local heroes or teenagers who are starting organizations, stuff that people resonate with, and also sharing these amazing resources that people might need in their life. So I say I'm excited and for the future because it's uncertain, because I have no idea what's going to happen. I never thought I would be at the White House because I was able to attend the Mental Health Youth Action Forum, which was at the White House. So meeting President Biden was, I never thought that would happen in my entire life. And if it did, I thought it would be in the middle of my career towards the end where I've done a lot of work. So you never know what's going to happen. And so my piece of advice is just be open to everything and anything, because you never know what can happen at all.
Right. I love it. Oh, I couldn't have said it better myself. That's exciting. I'm taking that answer. Uncertainty, right? We don't think about that. We think of the other elaborate positive stuff, but uncertainty can be positive, right? Because you never know what's going to happen. And that's the exciting part. I feel that's the exciting part. How can the Think Fam find you on social media and stay connected?
Absolutely. I know you have my full name now. Usually that's my Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. So if you want to reach out, if you want to have a conversation, please let me know. And if you're interested in the magazine, that's Positive Vibes Mag, one word, and then Positive Vibes Magazine. You can just type it in, it'll probably come up. And if it doesn't, it's positivevibesmag.com. And if you're interested in being featured, we would love to have you as well. Or just have a conversation about entrepreneurship or starting your own business, let me know.
All right. You heard it here. Y'all, he's Zane. He is Zane. Thank you for being with us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me again.
You're so welcome. Think that let you go
away. You know who it is. It's Niles Finkley on the Michael Finkley Show. Actor, entertainer, hip-hop artist, spoken word poet. We are here live coming to you. Tap in, baby. Woo!
Check. CTR Media Network was created for today's podcasters. We provide a safe haven for content creators that are everyday people doing extraordinary things. We have a system of positioning, monetization training, coaching, and support for our podcasters' success. CTR Media Network simply bridges that gap with a level playing field for your dreams to come true cost effectively. Our team provides a premium service and experience for our podcasters to grow. CTR Media Network provides access, support, resources, coaching, and community for our podcasters to win, if you put in the work. We believe that we are living in a unique time which requires you to share your message of hope with millions of people around the world. Remember that the world is never too saturated for you, your voice and message. A platform for positive, impactful media where the content creators are in the driver's seat. Visit our website today by going to www.ctrmedianetwork.com.
On the next Michael Finkley, celebrating breast cancer awareness.
Tamika Hunter Ross is with us to discuss her journey with breast cancer and also her signature event, Pink in the City.
Next Finkley. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Michael Finkley Show. I hope that you learned something from Zane. Thank you so much for being with us and just sharing your words, your experiences with us. Thank you. Much success to you. Appreciate you. Thank you. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Michael Finkley Show. Ring that bell for notification. We'll send you an email saying, hey, new content's available. Listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And for more information about what we do, visit our website, michaelfinkleyshow.com. Of course, again, we're on U42 and on RokuTV as well. Thank you so much, y'all. We appreciate you. Much, much success and love to everyone watching. Thank you so much for watching, for viewing us, for telling your mama, your daddy, your sister, brother, aunties about us and what we're doing over here in our little corner. Thank you so much. And until next time, Big Fam, have a good one.